Welcome back. I'm the Intense MD, a board-certified intensivist, here to give you an inside look into the intensive care unit. A couple months ago, I reacted to a Rescue 911 video called Heart Attack Teacher, which you can watch here. But today, by request, I'm reacting to more Rescue 911 videos. And this video is called Blacked Out Driver. I don't know what it's about yet. In the healthcare field, there's a lot of different definitions for blacked out, so I don't know if this is going to be a drug overdose, cardiac arrest, or something else, but I figured we'd react to it together. So without further ado, let's start up with William Shatner.
We begin on the afternoon of April 11th, 1990, along a hilly stretch of road near the small town of Pekin, Illinois. We're on their way to meet another ambulance crew for a dinner break.
We were headed southbound on Parkway Drive, and there's people coming home and going to work at about that time. So there was a lot of heavy traffic. We saw a car go.
Is this heavy traffic for Illinois? Because this is actually the best Houston traffic I would ever see.
When northbound, weaving erratically. Looks like they're drunk or something, I don't know. Those cars, they're going to hit the cars.
They're driving in the wrong lane. That always makes me nervous when you see people driving the wrong way, whether it's a one-way street or if they get into your lane. I actually have a story from residency of possibly a similar situation of this. So if you want to hear a story time about that, let me know below, because that was a blackout driver situation as well.
After we passed it, I looked in my mirror and I saw it drifting back across the roadway. The car was going between 40 and 45 miles an hour, I'd say.
We turned on the red lights and siren to warn the oncoming traffic and traffic in the area that there was some danger approaching. I was concerned for the other driver.
I know this is a reenactment, but I kind of wonder if it was actually this erratic, because that's terrifying. If they're really weaving in and out like that, or if I'm sure this is dramatized for television, but it's pretty aggressive driving.
First on the road, it was kind of anger that somebody be that drunk going through rush hour traffic.
EMT Tom Siren and his partner were also heading south, on their way to meet the other medic unit.
When I first saw the car, there was a guy running next to it. I just figured he was trying to get back in his own car and it took off from him.
So they thought the guy's car escaped from him? Did I hear that right? I'm really confused.
See anybody in that car? Yeah. Man, I can believe this person. I wasn't able to tell if it was a man or a woman. I just saw somebody slumped over the steering wheel. And we turned with lights and siren on, and we pretty much had most of the traffic stopped in both lanes of the road.
Oh, okay, so clearly somebody is slumped over in the front seat, and it looks like there's a child in the passenger seat, which I'm not a pediatrician, but the child looked too small to be riding in the front seat, and I think those rules still applied in the 90s, because I know there was a while that I was not allowed to ride in the front seat. So it'll be interesting to see what this is, because if this is a mom, I would be surprised if they are completely blackout drunk. Not to say that that does not happen, but I have a feeling something else is going on here.
As we were proceeding after the car and reaching the city limits, the traffic would be approaching highway speeds, 55, maybe 60 miles an hour.
I'm not really good at estimating kids' ages, but he looks like, I'm guessing 4 or 5, and he seems real chill for the wild ride he's on, and his mom being slumped over. I'm assuming that's his mother. It could be, a caretaker or a kidnapper. I don't know. We'll find out.
I knew we didn't get the car stopped before it hit the curb. It would probably run off the road and strike a tree. We hit the air horns several times to try to get her attention, try to get her to wake up, look over or something, but never could.
The car came to a small grade, and it looked as if it was slowing down quite a little bit.
It went through my head. I go, you got to stop the car. This is what you got to do. You got to jump out. You got to run after this car and stop it.
Okay, so their plan is to jump out of a vehicle and run after another moving vehicle. I know they said it's slowing down, but the initial velocity was about 40 miles an hour. So, I don't know. I would figure in these situations they might try to, like, not really damage the car, but kind of, like, cause a little bit of an accident to stop it. I don't know if you can do that safely. Obviously, I'm not an ambulance driver. I'm not a professional driver by any means, but it seems like an interesting plan.
It was moving a lot faster than I thought it was at the time I got out of the ambulance.
I really do wonder how fast that car is going because, like I've mentioned in prior videos, I'm training for a half marathon and I know what my top speed is, and I don't think I can catch up with a moving vehicle unless it was, like, very slow rolling.
I was concerned about my friend Tom. I felt compelled to help him in whatever way I could. There's a baby in the car. We had no idea up until that point that there was anyone else in a vehicle, especially a small child in a car seat. Be careful, we're going to park on 3. 1, 2, 3. She was indeed in an unconscious state.
Once we saw the driver of the car, we knew it wasn't someone intoxicated. It looked like a medical problem.
Okay, maybe the kid is younger than 4 or 5. Like I said, not a good judge, but again, seems very chill for the wild ride he just went on. There is only like a minute left in this. I'm wondering if they're going to tell us what actually happened or if this was just about the chase, which was interesting, but not very medical.
I didn't have any idea what was wrong with her. Even we thought she might have been diabetic and had a reaction.
Yeah, so she can be, like, if you're diabetic and your glucose gets low, you can go into a coma-like state. If she had any kind of medications that she had a reaction to, if she took a sleeping pill, probably not if she's planning on driving her child around, but could be a medication effect. It could be a seizure, could be a heart condition, could be anything at this point.
On the way to the hospital, she started coming around. She could tell me her name, that was all she could say. I asked her if she knew where she was going or where she'd been, and she couldn't answer those questions.
27-year-old Susan Fugit regained consciousness at the hospital, where she was referred to neurologist Mahasuf Shah for diagnostic tests.
We did some testing on her, and when we did the EEG, we made a diagnosis on her that she was suffering from epilepsy.
So epilepsy is a seizure disorder, and sounds like this is probably going to be a new diagnosis for her, but I think a lot of people think of seizures as the shaking, uncontrollable jerking, tongue biting, all those classic things of what's called a tonic-clonic seizure, but there are seizures where somebody just might be completely unconscious and their brain has seizure activity, but their body's not expressing it. There's also something called an absence seizure where it's like a light just turned off and they're just staring off into space. So there are different types of seizures.
I didn't have any sign that I was going to have a blackout like that.
Sometimes people will have a little bit of a warning before seizures. It's called a prodrome. Something that people will say is they have abnormal smells, like they'll smell burnt toast before seizure. They'll have some kind of clue that they're going to have a seizure, and sometimes people just have them out of the blue.
The best thing that came out of all this was finding out what was wrong with me and getting the medication, and more than likely I don't have to worry about it happening again, as long as I do what the doctor tells me to do. If something would have happened to Joshua, when I blacked out, I would have hated myself.
Yeah, they're extremely lucky that they didn't total that car, have a, any type of life-threatening car accident. At least based on the dramatization, it seems like the car was driving very erratically. So, anything could have happened when she was in a state of unconsciousness. So, I'm glad things turned out well for her. I'm glad that she has the medications to hopefully prevent further seizures from occurring. A lot of times in new onset seizures, we want to make sure that there's no other reason for it. Typically, sometimes we'll make sure the patient doesn't have a new brain tumor or anything like that. But many times people just have a seizure disorder with no other reason for it.